I'm sure you denounce Project 2025 on that basis, right?
I'm confused as to what it is that you're suggesting Project 2025 has to do with my question regarding the administrative state appointed by the President of the United States.
I'm confused as to why you don't.
David Pakman gets destroyed in a huge debate with this young fella right here, Tony Connect. When David Pakman's debated Connect about why people just simply don't trust school institutions anymore. I mean, we've all seen it before where a lot of people like David Pakman, like right here, they always advocate for, wokeism in schools and not far left indoctrination to the children and everything. And I'll be honest with you all, whatever that this guy will say to David Pakman, he's absolutely right, because as you all know or might not have known, I used to be a teacher myself, and the craziness that's been happening in these schools are real. So this is basically where, they break down, the bureaucratic mess created in these schools while not teaching much of anything, basically. And it's surprised because the district I used to work for, I mean, we did a lot of teaching and everything. But the thing is, there's like a lot of other districts throughout the U.S. and different states where they teach nothing but wokeism and everything instead of the actual STEM subjects like science, math, and so on and so forth. So here's David Pakman getting obliterated by Connect on school institutions, why they can't be trusted anymore. So if you enjoyed what's being shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share the video for our social media. Let's go ahead and get to this debate where David Pakman is being obliterated.
Paul says that confidence in public institutions continues to decline among young people. What do you think needs to happen to turn that around?
Well, a few things. Number one, these public institutions that have taken the trust of Americans and thrown it away need to be reevaluated in the amount of power that they hold. They need to be reevaluated in the structure with the unelected bureaucrats that staff a lot of these institutions. For example,
I was going to say, give us an example of.
Right. So, for example, in my field, the Department of Education, which has governed by fiat over the last several decades, quite honestly, that has basically written all of these very weird and not scientifically backed rules as far as academia and education is concerned for states to receive education funding, that creates, quite honestly, a spaghetti bowl of laws and regulations that intertwine with each other and create a large mess. So when the system goes wrong and creates some type of backdoor regulatory flag that you have to jump hoops through, you lose a lot of trust in that institution. And so there needs to be a reevaluation of this fourth branch of the government, this administrative state, this Wilsonian idea that has been an abysmal failure in the United States.
David, your thoughts on that, your reaction?
Yeah, I don't. It won't shock you that I have a sort of different perspective than Tony generally as far as institutions go. I think that if we zoom way out, and I know that this is not the sexiest conversation, if we zoom way out at a very basic level, the larger society gets, the more we need to some degree, have institutions and institutions to which we can delegate some authority. And unfortunately, if you don't have that, what you have is a non-functional society. And so my preference would be that we actually properly fund our institutions with the right amount of oversight. I mean, I'm the last person to say, hey, take some money, go do whatever, and let's talk to you in 15 or 20 years. But when it comes to the Department of Education or FDA or whatever institution, I think the only way forward as far as anthropology and group psychology and sociology and all of these sciences take us is we need these institutions, but we need proper and correct oversight. They need to be adequately funded. And that's really the starting point for what are the most successful countries and ways of organizing ourselves. I know it's very top level. But I think starting from a point of taking away power for the sake of taking it, or defunding for the sake of defunding, or, Rick Perry just listing off departments famously and forgetting which ones that they were that he wanted to eliminate. I think it's backwards. And I think the global successes, the countries with the best business environments and the highest standards of living, show us that that's the right approach, not this, let's start closing down departments to some degree the way Project 2025 wants to do.
So the question that I would have for you is that in the same branch of concern that the executive branch of the United States is increasing its amount of authority unilaterally, that you would also increase the amount of authority with the executive branch through these bureaucratic organizations that answer to the executive branch? What authority needs to be delegated?
That's not at all what I said. No, certainly not. But my point, as I mentioned, was a broader one. Certainly nothing in what I said is give the president as an individual more power. And in fact, if we learned anything during the Trump presidency, it's that a lot of people on the left came around to what some on the right believed, which was, hey, maybe our checks and balances aren't strong enough. Maybe we don't want so much unrestricted power. But my point was a different one. I won't make it again to not bore the audience, but it has nothing to do with presidential power.
First and foremost, David Pakman looks really creepy as usual. Secondly, he just argued that basically the president should be overseeing this and in an individual position, but at the same time, he just stated that he should not have this president should not have this particular oversight or power over the education system. I mean, which is it? And also, why is it that, the newer generation today that's in high school right now, a lot of them are actually decided to go ahead and basically turn away from wokeism and stuff. I mean, you got a good amount of students out there who are still, finally in tune to it and want that. But at the same time, there's like a growing number of students in these high schools nowadays that don't want any of that. So they just want to go there, learn, get the education and be out. All right, that's it. And there's also a number of them who were raised up on values, good values, traditional values, Christian values, or even Islamic values or Jewish traditional values and stuff, where they don't want any of this in their lives and everything. And that's the crazy part about it. And with this, and the fact of the matter is that, when it comes to why a lot of people have a problem with wokeism being put in public schools and stuff, there's the indoctrination, and then there's also the lack of focus on the academics, and then the lack of parental rights that's been there. I mean, even recently in this past presidential election, they've had students to go ahead and pretend to do these mock elections and everything, and then they're being treated differently if they voted for Trump instead of Harris. Okay, but then there's also the political polarization and stuff, where putting woke themes into education can be, a big, huge indoctrination of a political agenda into the schools, and also the division that's going to bring and stuff. And then it's also going to be a lot of legal and ethical concerns right there. So yeah, it's a wonder why a lot of parents don't, or even these students don't want this kind of stuff in the public schools, don't trust public schools anymore.
Who appoints the bureaucratic heads of those organizations?
The president appoints some of them, but as we know now, what Project 2025 wants to change is taking what are career bureaucrats that are non-political in their public-facing roles and actually make them even more of them political appointees. So it sounds like what you're advocating for, if I understand correctly, is going the opposite way of what Trump and Heritage and Project 2025 have said they want to do. If I understand correctly, I'm sure you denounce Project 2025 on that basis, right?
I'm confused as to what it is that you're suggesting Project 2025 has to do with my question regarding the administrative state appointed by the President of the United States.
I'm confused as to why you don't think that taking the institutions that we have, which you say are already too politicized, and saying let's replace the career bureaucrats with overtly political actors, how that gets us any closer to the scenario you're drawing up.
I didn't say replace bureaucrats with different bureaucrats. I said reduce the number of bureaucrats. I don't know where you're getting that I'm throwing down the Uno wild card and just changing the color of the bureaucrats. That's not it at all. I suggested that the administrative state, the Bismarckian progressivism that failed in Germany, is failing in the United States. And that by suggesting that the sciences are necessary, that anthropologically, psychologically, sociologically, that as society grows, we need to delegate authority, is very, very weird and strangely 20th century dystopian.
All right, guys, we're going to go back to the calls. Mike is.
Now, this is pretty interesting because, as you all saw here, where totally breaks down the bureaucratic mess that was created in these schools while not, teaching much of anything. Like if you think about it, it's like more focus on, how when someone's feeling or how they should live and everything, rather than learning the skills and the different trades that's going to help them out in the real world to be an individual in today's society. But then David Pakman spends time trying to shift, Connect's words, and Tony wasn't having it. Y'all even saw that his facial expressions were perfect as well for that. And the fact of the matter is, David Pakman realizes that Tony won't fall for his for the tricks and stuff that David Pakman puts out there. And in the end, Tony makes it clear that, progressivism and wokeism doesn't work. And also, David Pakman needs to stop switching his words, because y'all heard it for yourselves and stuff. He even brought up Project 2025, something that has nothing to do with this, something that Trump doesn't even have anything to do with it. And also, interestingly, Kamala Harris was endorsed by the man who founded the company and everything that wrote Project 2025, or something that David Pakman doesn't want to talk about or even want to believe. So that's all interesting right there. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you might have in this particular topic. If you enjoy what was shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, so that way you notify the future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.